Hello again. Okay, now before I begin my next dish, I just wanted to show you what the paneer looks like when I've added in extra water. So it's pretty much over halfway full, and I've added the potatoes back here, and you can see the paneer is sort of not completely floating at the top as it was originally. Okay, so I'm going to, bear with me, I'm going to just put it at the back, out of the way, so I can get cracking with the next dish. Sorry about the excess noise. Okay, so that will just simmer away. Okay, so for this video I'm making chawal, which is rice. So this is classic Punjabi rice, and I just want to show you the packet. Now this is like 8 kilos of rice in here. Well, there was. It's completely finished now. So the rice I'll be using is Basmati rice. Now Basmati rice is commonly used for our rice dishes. Okay, so as usual I'm going to go in with just a little bit of coconut oil. Just let that melt through. And then I'm going to add cumin. So I really hope you don't mind the bubbling in the background, but I am really cooking, so I have to let that cook through. So yeah, I'll be making this with cumin. Now usually I need a spoon. We're going in by the teaspoon, as I usually do, and I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of Jeera, because Jeera has a wonderful flavour for the rice. Okay, just going to turn it that way, just so I could hold it. So we're going to just let the Jeera heat up with the oil. Sorry, the sink decided to do its own thing. Now this is how usually the kitchen is. We have one dish there, another dish here, and there's a few other things I'll be preparing as well. So the Jeera is just slowly starting to fry, only slowly. And at this point I'm going to remove it from the gas purely because of the sound, and I'm going to add the onions. Had to take it away from you. Okay, so I've added some coriander stalks and some onions in there as well. I've used about 1.5 small onions, and they're finely chopped or blended down. So you just want this to fry off briefly. It's a very quick recipe for the rice, but it's absolutely fantastic. It's the best way to do the rice. Okay, so as the onions are frying, I just want to bring you over to the Gahram Masala. So again, we're going to use Gahram Masala to flavour the rice. And you shouldn't be using too much, but just enough so you can taste it. Okay, so I've just added 1 tablespoon to a little bit of water, just so it doesn't burn, as it will do in the frying onions. Now, Gahram Masala is, as you could tell, used quite frequently, and it's a fantastic spice. So that is ready. Just want to give the onions a stir. Right, while that's still cooking off, I'd like to tell you a bit more about rice and how much to put in. Okay, so I've just got a mug really, and this is what I want to measure it with. You can measure it in anything as long as you use the same thing basically. So today, because I've actually run out of rice as well, I've used 1.5 cups. It was slightly less than half, but let's say 1.5 cups of rice. I'm going to give this a little stir. And keep this on low heat. So the rice, I put it in a bowl, and I added hot water or warm water, and you must wash the rice, and it releases a white, the sink, I'm so sorry, but yeah, it releases the white residue from the rice, and once you start seeing less of it as you're washing it, then it's almost prepared for being cooked with. Now all you do is just drain off the rice. It will still have some water remaining in it, but I will talk to you about that in a minute. Now I'm going to add the Gahram Masala, but I just want to take it off the heat. Now just for noise purposes, I'm just going to add a tad of a bit of water just to calm it down a little bit. That's much better. Okay. And now I'm going to add the Gahram Masala. Now keep in mind that the water is also being used in Gahram Masala. Only a little bit, and it will probably just bubble off anyway. And then I'm going to add, when I find my spoon again, I'm just going to add some salt. Only adding a tablespoon. Now you can add more salt, but because the dish that you tend to have with it is full of flavour anyway, and you don't necessarily have to have quite salty rice, so I'm just going to let that cook through a little bit. Okay, while that's bubbling, I'm going to talk to you about the rice again. Sorry about that. So you have 1.5 cups of rice, which means you add 3 cups of water. Now, what I will say is that on the final cup of water you go slightly less, purely because there's water in the rice already, and there's some water in here as well, so that will almost make up to the 3rd cup. So basically it's just doubled and that's it. Okay, now you can fry this off longer. Now also you could add to the rice is peas, so that's mutton, and you could add potato, and some people add carrots sometimes as well, sweet corn. It's all optional, but today I'm doing the plain rice because of the paneer that I've cooked earlier. It's quite full with flavour and it has peas already in there. Okay. So you'll notice this tadka will start becoming a bit more thicker, and you'll see that the onions are fried out more, and the Gahram Masala with the water has started to evaporate the water element. So let's keep stirring. Okay, now I'm going to go in with the rice. Now, let's get it all in. Try and grab every grain of rice. That tap is not doing me any favours today. Just tightened it. Okay. Now you just want to mix in the tadka into the rice very gradually. You don't want to do it too hard, you just want to fold it in. Kind of say, "Joel, let's just see there." So it kind of means that you want the flavours to start penetrating into the rice. And not forgetting we're going to be adding coriander as well at some point. And just let that start to cook out just a little bit. While that's cooking out, I'll prepare the first cup. Now just keep in mind that if you fill the cup completely to the top, then you add the water to the top. But because I don't tend to do that, I just judging it by the eye. Okay. So that's taking up some flavour in the rice. And now I'm going to add the first cup, just slowly. You can start hearing it. And there you have quiet. So let me just give that a stir. And I just want to stir the paneer as well. Okay, and let me just get the second cup ready. Now I'm using boiled water as well, by the way, and add the water and give it a little stir. And now the final cup, which is less, so you technically want like half a cup for the last one, and then you add that in. Again, that depends if you've washed the rice. If you haven't washed the rice, you'll probably need a full third cup. So just kind of stir it through, and at this point I'm going to add the rest of the coriander. so. And you can really smell the rice, the flavours, the spice of the Gahram Masala, and you can definitely smell the coriander at this point. So just take off any excess rice off there. Now keep it on low heat and put the lid on. Now, how to judge the time? Well, that's a tricky one. What I tend to do is, while this is boiling and it's wholly on low heat, I just take the lid off and have a little look, just a very little look, and you could see if there's still quite a lot of water in there. And then I'll just carry on doing whatever else I'm doing in the kitchen, and then check again. Now, the way to judge when it's ready to come off the heat is that majority of the water has gone, but it's still a little bit firm, just slightly firm, al dente, or even maybe not as much as that, but basically you want to see that a lot of the water has gone into the rice and it's fluffy. And then you take it off the heat, and I tend to wrap it in a kitchen towel. So I just put a kitchen towel down, put it on top and cover it, and then you let it sit and steam. So there's not a lot of stirring going on at this point, but yeah, you must let it sit and steam. Now, when you want to stir it, like for example, if you've put peas in there, you'll notice they're kind of like floated at the top. But if you do want to stir it after the water has gone, then it's ideal to use a fork and just slowly, sort of in a fluffiness, with some fluffiness, just fork it through and try not to break the rice grains, and that will make it better than actually mixing it with a ladle. So let me just give this a stir at the back. It's bubbling away quite nicely. And just want to check. So that's how the rice will be bubbling. So when you see that the fluid that was on top has become far less and the rice has come to the top, you need to check that majority of the fluid is gone, and you can take it off the heat, use a fork to mix it if you wish, and just let it steam. So, okay, so just please don't forget, when you take it off the heat, you must be away from the cooker when you put the tea towel on. But yeah, that's my Indian Punjabi rice, and I hope you will enjoy it when you give it a try yourself. And please practice, you know, don't worry, just give it a go, and if you made the odd mistake, you could try again the next time. But this is a fantastic way to get flavour into the rice. One little thing, if you are not vegetarian, you can add chicken stock to the rice, and it will give it another flavour to it, almost like a risotto type flavour. So where you would have added the water component, you'd add the chicken stock. So for example, you could do 1 cup of water and the rest could be chicken stock. You could even do the entire thing with chicken stock, it's entirely up to you. But yeah, the flavour of the chicken stock in there is fantastic as well. So, just have a little look. See, it's getting less already. Again, this is on low heat. I will give it a little stir. Let me just get my fork. Got quite a large fork here, but now as I've moved it, you can see that there's still quite a lot of fluid in there, so you need to let it cook a little bit longer. Now let's get that lid back on. While that's cooking through, I'll remove the remainder of the dishes. Sorry, my chopper are making quite a lot of noise. Flip-flops, sorry. Just going to put the Gahram Masala away. Right, I don't want to keep checking it, but just for the purpose of the video, you see that, yeah, bubbling away. Ideally, this side of the cooker is much stronger, and I would actually have the rice at the back, so it would take a little bit longer to cook. But you could take your time with rice. I mean, while you're preparing or finishing off the other dish, this could quite nicely be sitting there cooking away. So yeah, it's you know, it's optional. Play around with heat and timing as well. So, but yeah, I like to keep it on a low heat because sometimes when you boil it on a high heat, it doesn't quite boil through well enough, and you must keep the lid on as well. Purely because we don't want that water to just evaporate out, we want the steam to stay in there as well. I hear some people use a pressure cooker too, but I'm not too confident with the pressure cooker. So I do need to check the potatoes in the paneer, so let me just check them. They just need to be cooked for a little bit longer. Again, there's no actual time to cooking the Indian dish really, because it depends, like for example the size of the potatoes in that paneer dish. If they're larger, obviously it'll take longer to cook out. So mine are like medium size, they're not excessively large, so they won't take much longer to cook out. But when you use potato in here, at the point where I was frying the onions, I would put potato in with a dash of water and let the potato cook out a little bit. The potatoes would be in small chunks, very, very small chunks, because sometimes if the potato is too big in the rice, and then you add the rice and you add the water, the rice will cook and then the potato will still it wouldn't have cooked out well enough. So you want it of a smaller size. Peas are quite, peas are happy. They like to just be thrown in, and it's entirely up to you if you cook them right out to throw them in and then get the rice in and get it bubbling away. So peas are the most easiest part of in the rice dish. So I want to just check it. Do you see? A lot of that water has evaporated. Definitely evaporated. So I'm just giving it a brief stir. Now it still looks, sorry about the noise, it still looks al dente, which is how I want it to be. And I'm going to take it off the heat, switch off the heat, and get that lid straight back on, and to cover it with a tea towel, but not on the heat, so I need to find the other tea towel. It's funny where things end up, isn't it? I haven't got one, but I'll have to just put it on a put them on my oven gloves. But basically when you do that, just do not get this on there. It's still very, very hot. You'll burn your tea towel, so please be careful. And I know you can't see me now, but I've literally just sitting on some of my gloves, and I just want it to steam and just sit and steam, and it will actually continue cooking out the rice for the final part. And then before you serve it, again use the large fork just to give it a slight mix so you could separate it. And bon appetit. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Apologies for any hiccups, and I'll see you next time.